Yes.
I hear you. I will work on that while we are talking.
Okey doke.
Go ahead.
Sounds good. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thanks for joining us. Mr. DeBoer was not reachable this evening, so it is the seven of us. We have a quorum. Should we reach the decisions for salary, we'll need 100% of approval to meet the resolution requirement for that. But why don't we go ahead and, Chris, would you mind calling roll?
Yes. Jim Morrell.
On here?
Okay. Matt Mallory.
Here.
Okay. Jan Bidpaster.
Here.
Okay. Devin Turner.
Here.
Brian DeBoer. Negative. Brett Fromm.
Here.
Leland Wells.
Here.
And Roger Lewis.
Here.
Okay. All except Brian DeBoer are here.
Thank you, Chris. The minutes for our meeting last Monday evening were in your packet. There was only one suggested change that I saw in item 4C about staggering terms, that we should try and make that decision before we adjourn for 2026, which would be these meetings here. That's just sort of an editorial on the dates in here. Did anybody else have any other suggested edits or changes to last week's minutes? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the March 16th salary commission minutes.
I make a motion to accept them.
Thank you, Roger.
I'll second.
Brent, thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Those pass.
Here she is.
Hi, Jen. We figured that if you could do it last time around from Italy or Spain or wherever you were, you'd be able to do it from Hoodsport, so it's closer.
I'm in his, sorry, no, it was a crazy day and I ended up, I thought about it earlier, I read everything and I totally forgot. So here I am. Thank you, Christopher, for calling me.
Yeah, no problem.
No worries. We're at public comment. I'm not seeing public here unless the county administrator or HR director wanted to step in for public. Not feeling any taps on my shoulder. I will assume there's no public comment. There's nobody online either. Yep, that's Chris. So we'll move on to the request that Vice Chair Wells made last week for Kim Monroe to put together a summary of the Washington Superior Court methodology. Kim, do you want to comment on that?
So looking over the last couple of years, thank you. Reviewing the last couple of years of salary making decision by the commission, they've used various methodologies to establish those salaries. Back in 2022, they initiated a survey of the judicial branch using Willis-Hayes compensation structure classification study, which looks at comparative responsibilities, accountability, so on and so forth, ranks those by a numeric score, and that assigns a place on the compensation scale. That's the discussions that I was able to find around the notes and the minutes indicated that not a lot had changed around the judicial job descriptions. And so even though they're looking for someone to conduct that study again, they just haven't been able to find the resource. A couple of things that they considered in the past were things like cost of living increases for state government employees, market issues with attorneys in the area, comparability of the federal judicial branches, public comment, very much like you guys are doing here in your parameters. They settled on looking at the cost of living increase for state employees this last time around, which was the 1% and the 2% for the second year, and then a 1% for 2025 and a 1% for 2026, which is just a nominal market value increase.
Okay.
And I have those notes from February the 2nd, 2025, that were posted on their public website if you're interested in reading all of it.
No, what I was looking for was making sure that they weren't using any massively weird factor, or something randomized that would be just judiciary branch specific.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they're using a lot of the same methods that we would use as well.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that research.
Thank you, Kim. Anybody else have any questions for Kim on that information? About how the Washington Superior Court salaries get established? Awesome. Thank you so much.
Appreciate the clarity.
All right, so, moving on, there were, included in your packet, the reference materials that we had last week, the summary of our, previous work, as well as the spreadsheets that we were looking at. If you forward into your packet in the upper right-hand corner, thank you, Chris, for the page numbers. Very helpful. Page 9, if you want to jump to that, we'll continue the discussion that we had from last week, which was under the options for consideration. There were some that we removed from consideration, and then we added 3 more options. So at the top of page 9 on line 40 is the current salaries for the elected officials. Again, this is not including the sheriff. We made that decision last week. But the current for the assessor, auditor, clerk, coroner, the county commissioners, and the treasurer are $104,501. If you slide down to line 47, the peer median is established based on the 9 comparable counties that we used that we are using, and that resulted in, if we were to move the current salaries to that peer median of $122,316, a 17% increase. We added option E, as we eliminated B, C, and D, which would be an increase of half of that amount. So only half of the move from current to the peer median, which would be an 8.5% increase. And then there was a request for 2% below the peer median and 3% below the peer median, which are options F and G, resulting in 15 and 14% increases respectively. On the far right-hand corner, in anticipation and saving my friend Lee's quick calculations down there at the end, are numbers that are in color. So looking at option A, the 106,887 would be the total amount of increase for the elected officials minus the sheriff's increase, and the 113,522 is the increase, including the increase that we approved last week for the sheriff. Similarly for options E, F, and G, you can see what the total amount of the increases across the 6 elected offices are, and I just realized that I didn't multiply the county commissioner by 3, so this is a little bit short. It's short by twice whatever is in here. I just, every time I put together these spreadsheets, there's always something that you talk about it in front of people, you realize. But you kind of get the idea. So those numbers are just a little bit short because I know that Lee's gonna calculate that information for us now. But let's focus for the moment on what people's thoughts are.
34,630.
Huh?
34,630.
Okay.
There you
On
go.
options A, E, F, and G, what are people's thoughts in terms of those options? How's the group feeling about each of those? Jan?
Jim, did you say on any option, or are we on a specific option?
I summarized options A, E, F, and G.
Right.
So any option, just getting a sense for where
Okay.
people are thinking of those 4 options.
I will say right up front that personally, after the big increase we gave them last time, I'm a little bit leery to go with 100% of peer. Just as a taxpayer and as representing fellow taxpayers, that seems like a big leap to me. So I'm more attractive to E, F, or G, and I personally lean towards E, which is an 8.5%. I believe that was it, 8.5% increase, which is a pretty good raise for anybody these days. So I'd be interested in what everybody else thinks.
I tend to agree with Jan.
I agree with Jan.
Yeah, after looking at the numbers, I'm seeing the 8.5 would be the best comparison. Even if we're trying to keep it towards peer median, it gets us closest to peer median without that giant increase.
Good. Matt?
Well, I mean, part of the challenge we had last time is that elected officials' salaries had fallen well below. So it's hard to make that up in a single discussion, particularly if you're looking at 18 or 19%. And so I guess some of the deliberation tonight is how to get them closer to the median, but not potentially meeting the median. And so I agree with everybody. We did give them an increase last session. It's just, you know, if we kind of think forward, how many, you know, we're looking at potentially one more session, 2 more sessions till we get them up to what would be a current median. So we just kind of have to think about that. I mean, they're going to be behind for a longer period of time. And I'm not saying that's not okay. It's just that the challenge before the group was they were well below the median last time we met. We brought them up, but what's going to be a reasonable increase?
So those are excellent points, Matt, and I would concur with that as well as what everybody said previously. Just touch again on the history. Got you, Jen. Just touch again on the history. Part of the reason that we had such a challenge in 2024 when we made these adjustments is because the salaries were going up by 1% at most of the time. And for the non-commissioner seats, for quite a while, it was 95% or something, a percentage less. Where we did move our elected officials to the median in 2024, May 1st of 2024, and that salary will continue until the end of this year. So considering that the state's increases were 3% and 2% for the cost of living adjustment in 2025 and 2026, 3% and 2% respectively, I think that 8.5% is still a strong effort to try and move towards the median for our elected officials, while at the same time respecting the cost of living and sort of trying to balance out all of those factors. And again, this would go into effect on January 1 of 2027. So
We have Mr. Bauer just walked in.
oh, hello,
Hi.
how are you?
Well, I've been better.
Oh, okay.
So,
Have a seat
Would you
at
like
the table.
to join us up here?
well, I want to withdraw from being here. I thought last week that there was 7 people, 1 extra.
We have 8, including yourself, Mr. DeBoer.
Is it possible for me to withdraw because I'm not in a very good
Yeah.
So
spot. I'm just for everybody. I'm just not able to do this right now.
yeah,
Yeah. My mom passed away a while back, and I've been. Yeah, I'm just not.
yeah, totally
Yeah.
understand. Totally understand.
So I thought I better come down here in person and get whatever backlash.
No backlash at
backlash.
all. I appreciate you taking the drive down here from the North County. That's an exceptional effort.
Yeah,
I would.
Well, yeah, I have to get a ride.
It's a
Your ride's waiting for you, because I was
Yeah,
like, you're.
But yeah, it is not. I'm so sorry. I thought I would be in treatment by now, and they haven't. I'm not. So
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I thought I would be able to man up and and just not able to.
All right, so, we appreciate that.
Is that gonna hurt?
No, we can move forward this evening just fine. You would be welcome to stay until the end of the meeting if you wanted to, but no requirements to. We wish you well, and, I might ask, Kim, to just touch base with you on the way out, or Travis to see, I don't know if we need this in writing, Travis?
What's that?
A resignation.
We're okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine, it's in
We're
an
already
open,
taken care of.
it's in an
It's
open
okay.
meeting here.
So we'll accept this as your resignation from the salary commission, and we really appreciate you coming down and,
Yeah, I'm
And,
so sorry.
showing here in
because
person.
I really wanted to
Yeah.
be a part of this, but
okay?
I think it'd probably end up being a big scandal or something.
I think I
I'll
can,
see something like that on the
Yeah,
TV.
yeah, so,
I think we can speak, as a whole here and say we thank you for your time and effort, and we greatly
Certainly.
appreciate you, stepping up and acknowledging your,
Yeah, no.
withdrawal.
Okay.
And the fact that this is a handful for all of
Yeah,
us.
yeah, greatly
Well,
appreciated.
Thank you so much.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Means a lot that you came by here. No worries, no sorries.
Yep.
It's all good.
Okay.
Yep,
Thank
no
you.
worries, no hard feelings.
All right.
Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
No worries.
No worries.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, so, life is
8.5%.
tough. Life
Yeah.
is tough, so thank you, Brent. So we were talking about, the 8.5% option. I can't remember, Devin, did you have something you wanted to say? I don't know if you were starting to, or Jen had her, Jen?
Jen
go
had
ahead.
her hand up.
I just wanted to point out too that while that is my preference, if we do that too many years, we might again find ourselves, and of course, it'll be somebody else's, we all have term limits, looking again at a large deficit. But given the deficit of the median, if it continues to go up as much as it seems to be going up every year. However, given the fact that we know Mason County is in a deficit spending situation, and we've already given them one big boost, I still am in favor of 8%, 8.5%.
Very good. I think we'll make up a little bit of that based on the fact that the state's cost of living is 2%. What we don't control that. We also don't control what the other comparable counties do in order as a percentage of the Superior Court judge salaries, which is how we reach the median that we do. If they increase those percentages, which I think that some of the counties may have done that in the last 2 years, increase the percentage of the Superior Court judge salaries, then that could not offset, but, increase the increase further. I think that makes sense.
So they still do get the 2% cost of living?
The Superior Court judges do?
No, our Mason County employees.
Kim?
Yeah, so our Mason County non-represented employees receive the 2% this 2026. As we're processing and closing contracts, negotiating contracts with the unions, most unions are coming in around 2% per year.
Okay, but that has no bearing on these positions?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Thank
Good.
you.
Good conversations and thoughts. Does anybody have other thoughts that you'd like to share, or other options that you'd like to discuss?
1 second, I'm running a couple numbers really quick. Yeah, so
It's the guy that sits in the truck all the time.
Crunching numbers.
I'm a math geek, what can I say? So, after looking at it, with the peer median, the 8.5% increase difference between the peer median and the 8.5% is $8,932. And then if we went with the 2% peer median, it would be another $41,051. And then the difference between the 2% and 3% is only $6,270. So, really in practice, the 8.5% is really not too much of a difference dollar-wise between either the 2 or 3% when we look at it. So if we stick with the 8.5%, it's still a good raise, and it's justifiable to our populace, you know, to our the rest of the residents in Mason County, and it's still really not that big of a shortfall, honestly, you know.
And 2% a year from the state
Yeah, and
or contract.
yeah,
They don't get 2% from the state.
no,
The
the,
judges-
Contract.
no. The elected officials do not
Elected
get that
officials do
2%.
not get 2% from the state.
That's what we're here for.
The judges do.
Yeah, yeah. And because we're not using a percentage based off of a judge, then that 2% is not.
So the comments that were, just to clarify, the comments that were in Kim's summary of the Washington Superior Court methodology, the 3% and 2% is applied to all elected officials across all three branches
At the state level,
at the state level.
Yeah.
not commission, not here.
No, we're talking about what's
Yeah.
happening to our elected officials
Yeah.
here, yeah.
But that affects what the other comparable median counties are doing because they're using a percentage and we're not.
There's two parts of the formula for when we, that come into play. One is the cost of living adjustment, the 2% for 2026. The other is if a given elected position, just at random, without looking at the numbers, the coroner is at 50% of the Superior Court judge's salary, and other counties decide to change that from 50% to 60%, then that would increase on top of the 2% increase.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, probably what happened somewhere in 2025 or 2026, is that some, maybe not all, of the other comparable counties increased. We know that one county, it was Kittitas County, just did it, they don't do that method, they have their own cost of living adjustment that they applied. So that was a different methodology altogether, so I just, yeah. So yes, and both. To answer both you and Devin, yep.
Jim, I got a clarifying question on the spreadsheet. It's in E, the 8.5% increase. Total dollar amount in that last column, is it
It should,
53 or 59?
so those numbers should be $71,062. That's the increase for all elected officials, because we have three commissioners. And when we add the increase to the sheriff's salary, it's $77,690. That's the total net,
You said the first one was 71,000 what?
$62.13. I don't know the cents.
Wow, 13 cents?
No.
I don't know,
No,
they're
no.
talking about getting rid of pennies, so I don't think that
Yeah.
13 cents.
Yeah, you gotta round up.
Yeah.
It's 15 cents now.
But it gives you a ballpark that the decision at the 8.5% is under $75,000 or under $80,000 total.
Total increase. And
Because that was somebody brought that up in our conversation last week.
Did I miss the first meeting? Oh, high overview county budget capacity for this,
Travis?
or is that?
we were 2 million, I believe, was the over budget currently. And to do the total increase, we were looking at like a 2.1 million total.
Okay.
That's close enough to be accurate. Jen?
I just am curious, looking at the rest of you there, and a couple conversations I had afterwards, does anybody think 8.5% is too much?
Realistically, 8.5%, like I said, is justifiable between the 3% cost of living increase 2 years ago and 2% this year. And it gets us closer to our original goal of being at the peer median, without being so much of a significant jump. And, you know, even then, we're still only 5.5% below what our target is to be within the 2 to 3% above or below peer median. So.
And I do think, I agree, and I do think that there are some reasons why, why choosing to go at half of the, what would be the full median, full to attain median is, that we're justified. It's, the economy is not so great, everybody's having trouble, and no one else is getting an 8.5% raise. Which is why and the county is apparently in a deficit spending situation, so. But I just wondered if anybody else felt that that was too high.
I've seen people say no.
I was gonna say, I quite frankly think they deserve every penny of it,
I know
but
me,
that's a good balance.
me personally at my job last year, I got like a 4% raise, and that was just last year. So if, and I'm a truck driver, if we're basing it off of that, I think this is more than reasonable at 8.5% for a county official over the course of 2 years, the 2 year difference, so.
Jan, I just kind of, yes, I understand where you're coming from. I think we all want to be fiscally responsible and responsible for the county. But I also look at the comparables that we've lined out.
I agree.
And also, with the size of Mason County, some of those other counties we're comparing to are 20,000 people less. And so it's one of those ones where do we try to get our elected officials up to being comparable to other elected officials in similar size counties? I kind of look through it at that lens a little bit as well.
I agree with you. I do agree with you. I had felt that there was, I don't know, just some sentiment that maybe from other people, and I know I talk a lot, so I wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to, to really feel free to express themselves about whether or not this was, if anybody felt this was too high.
Appreciate that consideration. Anybody, Roger, are you feeling okay with this?
Feeling very
direction?
And a general reminder, this would kick in January
January
of
1st of 27.
27, okay.
Yep, and we will be back here again a year from now, give or take, to determine January 1 of 2028. So unlike last time where we were setting salaries for just over 2.5 year period of time, this goes into effect January 1 of 2027. Does not increase sooner than that. Okay.
Jim, I move we set the salaries at 8.5% increase.
I second that.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Just one comment. I'm going to make this really painful just because that's what I do sometimes. You can ask my team at the credit union. We'll go ahead and take this vote, and then we will take a look at the resolution, and I'll also ask the group to pass the resolution, which was included in your packet as well. But if there's no further conversation about the 8.5% increase for the elected official salaries, with the exception of the sheriff, all in favor of Jan's motion?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
That is all 7 of us in the affirmative. So just because I think this was the way that we did it last time. If you turn to pages 11 and 12, I'll go ahead and read through this, I guess, and then ask Chris to take roll. This is a resolution 2026-01 of the Mason County Citizens Commission on Salaries for Elected Officials. The Salary Commission establishing Mason County elected official salaries, whereas consistent with the provisions of Board of Commissioners of Mason County Resolution number 2024 the Mason County Citizens Commission on Salaries for elected officials shall prepare a schedule of salaries for the Board of Commissioners and other elected officials, specifically the assessor, auditor, clerk, coroner, treasurer, and sheriff. And whereas the salary commission shall set salaries of the county commissioners and other elected officials and file with the county auditor no later than May 1st, 2026, and not later than May 1st every year thereafter. And whereas the salary commission chair shall sign each salary schedule filed, certifying that the schedules have been prepared and filed in accordance with this resolution, state law, and any rules of any of the commission. And whereas the salaries filed with the county auditor shall become effective and incorporated into the county budget without further action of the Board of County Commissioners or the Salary Commission, and become effective January 1st of the following calendar year, which would be 2027, subject to the referendum procedures described in RCW 36.17.024 and Mason County Resolution 2024-070. And whereas salary increases established by the commission shall be effective as to all county commissioners and elected officials regardless of their term in office, and whereas the action of fixing the salary of the county commissioners and elected officials shall supersede any other provision of county ordinance or resolution related to budgets or fixing of salaries, and whereas salary decreases established by the commission shall become effective as to incumbent county commissioners and elected officials at the commencement of their next subsequent terms in office. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mason County Citizens Commission on Salaries filed the following salary schedule for the Mason County elected officials office, effective January 1st, 2027, for the positions of assessor, auditor, clerk, coroner, treasurer, and county commissioners. That salary would be $113,384. And for
And
the
treasurer, Jim, add and treasurer, addendum and treasurer.
oh, did I skip treasurer?
Treasurer's on here.
Yeah, I may not have read it. I may have skipped it. It's actually on here twice. I'm not reading it,
Okay.
but,
Oh, I see, it is, okay.
yep. So for all of those positions, it'd be $113,384, and for the sheriff, $170,867. I would ask Chris to take roll of the seven of us, for approval of this resolution.
Okay. Jim Morrell, your vote.
Yes.
Matt Mallory, your vote.
Aye.
Jan Goodpaster, your vote.
Aye.
Devin Ferner, your vote.
Aye.
Brent Fromm, your vote.
Aye.
Okay. Cleveland Wells, your vote.
Aye.
Roger Lewis, your vote.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you, everybody, for putting some good thought, conversation into the setting of those salaries. We are doing very good work moving this forward. I did slip in here the salary considerations that we have been working on. Forgot to put it on the agenda, but on page 13. It was the working draft. I'd like to update it with at least these following changes, if you're with me on page 13. The use of comparable counties, I just put a parentheses 9 counties after that. Could list them out, probably 2. Under cost of living, I'd remove from county HR, it's the cost of living adjustment for all statewide officials of 3% in 2025 and 2% in 2026, plus the 1% position specific for each year. That was in Kim's report. And then we discussed this time, this kind of a litmus test for how our conversation went. We talked about the equity between the elected officials and their responsibilities. We also discussed inflation. We discussed last week and this week the attractability for prepared and capable people to consider running for office and want people to fill these positions and feel that they're properly compensated. We did not talk about, and I'd suggest removing from this list, the stepping salary increases because it didn't apply. This was last time's list. That, like, how are we gonna do it for 2024 and 2025, because we already, in 2026, that's no longer relevant. We looked at recent history of salary increases. We had elected officials' positions are not necessarily in all cases transferable to jobs outside of the county government. Somebody asked a question as an example about the coroner, I believe it was last week. Consideration of how increases will be perceived by voters as well as all residents, and consideration of rep and non-rep staff percentage salaries increases. That'll seem so accurate. Is there anything that we talked about last week or this week that's not on this list that we would want to keep in mind for the next time that we have this discussion?
So one thing that I just thought about, this is a question for our lovely HR representative. So how is Mason County doing in regards to staying within that 2 to 3% plus or minus with the entirety of hiring? Are we meeting the positions that we need filled, staying within that area?
So, for the most part, we do not have a recruitment and retention issue.
Okay,
We do see turnover at the entry-level positions,
okay,
simply because our low-end compensation is pretty low. But when I do my classification summaries, I always look at the comparable counties and the market value. We look at 7 counties, not the
9.
The 9, that are more aligned with the types of jobs that we have.
Mhm.
So I would say by and far, we're doing okay. And we try to stay right about that median mark.
Okay, but we're able to maintain a cohesive unit with the employees that we have.
Yes.
All right.
Question? Everybody else is good? I'll make those updates to these notes. If anybody thinks of something because you woke up in the middle of the night tonight or sometime next week, please shoot that note to Chris and he'll help me update that. So, our last order of business for this evening is staggering of terms. I'll just review this for those that may be watching online, but the Salary Commission, when we first met in March of 2024, I think it might have even been our very first meeting, if not our second, observed that all 10 salary commissioners' terms will expire at the same date. As we've learned, there's a fair amount of work and effort that goes into reaching these decisions and evaluating all the information that we have to make a decision. So the recommendation, we made a recommendation to the Mason County Board of Commissioners, Mason County Board of County Commissioners, to revise their original resolution, 2024-001, which is why we have -070, to ensure that all of our terms would not end at the same time, to stagger them. And what was then updated in the resolution 2024-070 by the Board of County Commissioners was that for the terms, half of the lot drawn positions, 3 of the 6 would end December 31, 2026, have an initial term ending then, and then the other half, the other 3 of December 31, 2027. Similarly, for the appointed positions, 2 of the 4 should have an initial term ending 12/31/2026, and the other 2, 12/31/2027. And after that, all members shall serve for 2 years.
Go ahead.
Okay, you okay?
That's silly. Go ahead.
Which part?
We're not here for 2 years, just 2 years.
It was a typo, Jim.
Typo, yeah. It's all right. It's like I say, it's just funny.
Oh, okay.
It just seems longer.
2 years? Oh, yeah, thank you. There was a Y missing, I got you. I wasn't listening with both of my ears. That's why I missed the Y. Last month, I met with Deputy Prosecutor Whitehead and County Administrator Adams to confirm that at the end of an initial term, you may opt to continue for 2 years and not need to be reappointed and not need to be re-lot drawn. We discussed that 2 years ago, that the chances that you would be lot drawn twice are probably pretty slim. So I think that's the legal clarification, that you can decide to continue for those 2 years. The appointed seats are not assigned to county commissioner districts. The lot drawn positions have been assigned to the 3 county commissioner districts. And I listed on the latter half of page 15 those positions. So if we could, I'd like to first talk about the commissioner appointed positions. The people serving in those right now are myself, Matt Mallory, and Jen Goodpaster. And there's a vacant position there, so I don't know if it's easiest to watch Matt, Jan, and I scrap this out, or if we wanna talk about the position that is vacant. Why don't we start with those people in those positions firstly?
Okay.
So, the vacant position, would we be inclined to, if that was, this is the way I think of it. That position is currently open, there have been no applications received by the Board of County Commissioners. If they did receive an application tomorrow and interviewed and appointed, and that term ended December 31 of 2026, that person could then choose to serve till December 31 of 2028. Or we could make the initial term of that vacant position 12/31 of 2027. Jan or Matt, do you have any thoughts on that? For your own sakes?
I kind of track on the first one. I mean, it's replacing, it's a vacant position. They would serve out the balance of the current term
Yes,
and then could continue on
yes.
for the additional.
And what we're deciding here is when that initial term ends. And it can, by our choice, what we have to decide on here is whether or not it ends it ends at the end of 26 or the end of 27. I'll share with my personal thought is that we take that vacant position and make it the end of 2027, because that would ensure that somebody's gonna have at least 3 of these cycles and not just, well, 0.
0, right, correct.
But, or not just 1, because I think the amount of thought that it takes to like come up to speed, it would benefit by that. I think it might also, may or may not, doesn't sound like the doors are being pushed through right now by the line of people wanting to apply, but it might help with the recruitment.
Yeah, if you applied for a term that's 0 in length, that would maybe not be advantageous.
Right. Jen, do you have any thoughts?
Okay, so one of us does have to resign now, is that correct?
No. One of us, 2 of us would need to have an initial term ending either 2026 or 2027.
Okay. So we're gonna have one person, if someone, so we're
So-
suggesting that if one person is appointed, their term go through 2027.
Yeah, or 2026. I'm not married to either one. I was just sharing my rationale.
Okay, I was just trying to get a clear picture of it. Well, I certainly enjoy serving on the board, but I think both you and Matt make excellent candidates. So if you want my resignation, I'm more than happy to give it to you.
There's no resignations right now.
Okay, in my term at the end of 26. Unless somebody else is dying to end their term at the end of 20.
The understanding that it can be extended another 2 years.
Yeah, you can extend, so at the end of 2026, thank you, Travis, you can extend to 2028.
So what does that mean? Then I would turn around and reapply?
No, you would choose, you would let us know that you wanted to continue for 2 more years.
Two of us have to, that position and another of our 3 positions has to move to 2027? Is that correct?
There's multiple ways that this could be done. Let's just take yourself. If you chose,
Okay.
if you said, hey, I wanna have my initial term end at the end of 2026, you could choose prior to the end of 2026 to say, I really enjoy this, I'd like to continue on for 2 more years and extend until the end of 2028.
Oh, I'm fine with that, if that works.
Or you could say, I'd like my initial term to end in 2027, and you're still having a good time, and you want to continue for 2 more years, then your second and final term would be the end of 2029.
Okay. I guess I'm offering myself up for whatever meets with you 2 gentlemen, whichever you prefer.
Matt, what
I
are your
will take
thoughts?
I thought we were kind of focusing on the vacant one, but we can jump ahead. I think, if we want to keep it intact, go up to 27, and then maybe poll the group, do you wanna continue or not? That may, or is it 28? I'm losing my
So,
track on that
same question for you, if you wanted to be end of 26, you could, and then
Right.
2 more years would be through 28,
Right,
or 2027, and 2 years through 29.
yeah, I could see myself interested through 28, but beyond that, I'm not sure.
All right, so what I think I just heard is that you would be 12/31 of 2026, plus 2 years, which would be 2028. And,
So Jim, what do you wanna do? That's the question.
I'm waiting for you all to fill in the blanks. I'm willing to do the will of the group.
I will do either, but either you, I mean, I'm just, if you would like to serve till 29, then I will do the lesser term.
And then
If
you're
we need-
inclined for the vacant term to be through 2027, the initial term?
Yes, I guess so, and then I'll just be through 28 then, right?
Okay,
No.
Yes.
Jim, no,
yes, that's
Yes,
correct.
you're right,
then Nat and I would possibly be through 28 if we both re-up.
right.
And you and the other person would be through 29 if you want to offer up. Does that?
That would be fine, and I think that is where we would settle on. So just to summarize, the initial terms for position 2 and position 4, Matt Mallory and Jen Goodpaster would be 2026. And the initial terms for position 1, which is filled by myself, and the vacant position would be 2027. And then add 2 years to each of those, if people are interested in doing that at the end, prior to the end of those initial terms.
So at the end of 26, do we have to do something?
Travis and I and Chris will figure out administratively what we need to do. We'll operationalize this, but
Okay.
I would not anticipate it to be any long speeches or required writing.
I don't have to run a campaign.
No, just maybe a short poem about,
All right. How about a
Settle for a haiku.
yeah, Travis prefers a haiku.
Okay,
if
I'll
you're
do a
gonna that.
haiku.
Add in some Sudoku there too.
So,
Now you're mixing words and numbers.
let's move to the lot drawn, or anybody else have anything that you'd like to add on the appointed position? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I figured it was affecting us.
No, actually, it worked out exactly as I was thinking.
Brilliant. All right, so the lot drawn positions, let's deal with Commissioner District, or where do you all want to start? This is your, so just Commissioner District 1, position 1 is Devon, and position 2 is Ryan DeBoer, which is now vacant also. Commissioner District 2, position 3 is Brent, and position 4 is vacant, and then District 3, position 5 and 6 are Lee and Roger.
So
Do you want to arm wrestle Lee, Roger, for?
can I put in
Go
just
ahead.
really quick? So I see this working three different ways. We can either simplify it and do even odd because the seats are numbered as listed, or we can do time of selection, or we can volunteer.
Or we can change the numbering on the seats.
Yeah, well, like I said, or we can volunteer.
Battle Royale, was it on
Yeah.
one?
No,
So I
So-
wouldn't make it overly complicated, Lee. I think really what the decision would be is like, for you, or you and Lee, or for you and Roger, which of you would
it
want?
just, I was looking for future.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, we can renumber the positions, because they weren't originally numbered.
Sorry,
The commissioner districts, we can't change.
Oh, okay.
We don't have that in our purview.
Okay.
I really enjoy it, but, you know, he's doing a better job.
You just thought you'd lose the arm wrestling. So your initial term would be 12/31 of 26,
Okay,
plus 2 years, if you so chose, would go through 2028.
I'd like that.
Okay. You okay, Lee, if your initial term goes through 2027 plus 2 years of 2029?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right, Devin and Brent, I guess we can choose to do this however you'd like, or we can make the vacant positions initial term end at the same time.
Since I'm the only one representing the good people of District One, I will stay till 2027 and potentially re-up to 2029. And
Okay.
hopefully by then somebody else from District One will,
All right.
I can groom them.
Don't use that word.
That's not a good word anymore.
That is not a good word for this situation.
Mentor.
Mentor.
Yeah,
There you go.
There we go. That's all right.
Brent, what are your thoughts?
In an effort to, make it more attractive for any of our future candidates for the vacant position, I'll do 26 and probably the other two,
Okay.
Okay.
if nobody minds.
No, that's
That
fine.
is tremendous. So, I will run down this, but, Roger, make sure I use both ears in listening in on this, all right?
Yep.
So for the lot drawn positions, Commissioner District One, Position One, Devin Ferner, the initial term would be December of 27, with consideration for 2 more years through 29. Position Two, District One, is currently vacant. We will inform the county auditor that that initial term would be ending December 26. For Commissioner District Two, Brent Fram, initial term ending December of 26, with the consideration for extending to December 2028. The vacant position in District Two, the initial term would be 2027, with the consideration of extending to 29. For Commissioner District Three, position that Lee holds would be initially ending December of 2027, plus 2 years, 2029. And Commissioner District Three, the other position that Roger Lewis currently holds, initial term ending December of 2026, plus 2 years of 2028.
Yep.
Do we need to vote on that, I guess?
I was gonna say, I do have a question about that.
I think it's best, however, I do have a point of clarification. Are we going to assume and notify the auditor that the vacant position that terminates at the end of 26 is going to get an automatic extension for 2 years? Because otherwise it's a draw for no purpose. So essentially it's a 2-year seat.
Seems like it would help.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, it only makes sense, because it would be a draw with, yeah. like
Yeah,
I said.
and it would only be a 2-year seat because they could not ask for another extension. That would be going into a 3rd term.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Is that clear for everybody here? Jan, you got that?
Sure, that's great.
Okay. Yes.
So before we vote,
Yeah.
on that, I wanted to clarify something. If we set the term rotation as it is that a permanent thing? Like, is it going to become standard for each seat, the term limits that we set right now, or the rotation that we set right now?
What I will work with Travis and Chris on is renumbering the seats so that like you were going, the
Yeah.
odd seats do one and the even seats
Yeah.
do another. Because I don't think that there was anything,
There was no rhyme or reason.
rhyme or reason to it initially.
I just wanted to make sure that the actual term, rotation is going to become a permanent from this point forward?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah, that's the
that
way
was
that
why,
Just
when we
wanted to
did it in the
clarify.
beginning.
the revisions that the deputy prosecutor suggested and the board of county commissioners approved
Yeah.
established that. So, and the way that the resolution reads is if somebody is to resign, which is the kind of the point that Travis was just making,
Yeah.
that they're appointed to the end of the current term.
Yeah.
So I think that we can add in,
the term extension to,
the motion here somehow that for that vacant seat, for the vacant seat in Commissioner District 1, that the initial term would be December of 2026, and that we would extend until, we would just approve that to be through 2028.
But then they couldn't re-up after that.
no,
Correct.
no.
So that defeats our staggering purpose at that point then,
No,
for that district.
no, because you're,
Cause I'm here, from what I said, I was here to 2027, potentially to 2029. So if they
Correct.
can only be here to 2028,
correct.
we're not staggered. Well,
So that seat,
has-
and that in 2029, there would be a new salary commissioner that would be drawn for 2029, that term would go through December of 2030, and then plus 2 years of 2032.
Okay.
You might have to mentor two people.
I might have to mention two people.
That's quite possible.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Or more, depending on if we have more resignations and more appointments.
Well, it's
Selections.
all gonna go to the, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find a replacement.
All right, I will summarize this by people, maybe that'd be easiest, and then ask somebody to move the following. For the commissioner-appointed positions, that Matt Mallory and Jan Goodpester's initial terms would end in December of 2026. For Jim Morrell and the vacant position, the initial term would end in December of 2027. For Commissioner District 1, Devin's initial term would end in December of 2027. The vacant seat would end initially in December of 26. For Commissioner District Number 2, Brent Fram's seat would initially expire in December of 26. The vacant position in December of 27. For Commissioner District 3, position held by Lee Wells would initially term in December of 27, and by Roger Lewis, initial term of December 2026. The Commissioner District 1 vacant seat would be assumed to automatically continue through 2028. Chris will make that sound better. Is there a motion to approve that?
Motion to approve it.
Thank you, Devin.
I second.
Roger, thank you. Any other clarifications? Does all make sense? Travis, Chris, you got that? Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations, everyone. Brent? Yes.
Is it 10-minute break?
Well.
Actually, we're
Or are we
done.
gonna adjourn?
We're
I'll give
done.
you a 11-month break.
Okay.
Yeah, so anything else that you'd like to discuss, we can come back and do that later. There will not be a need for the meetings on March 30th or April 6th. No salary commission meetings on those dates. If there's nothing else for anybody that you want to talk about, chat about, we are adjourned.
Is there a gavel? Nobody has a gavel?
I'm glad we're not having another meeting because I leave for the south of France.
Cause you need.
We would,
She's going to
we
the
would
south of
hate to have
France.
to go with you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be absolutely horrible flying across the ocean to go join you in France to hold these meetings.
Yeah, well, yeah, that'd be fun.
We could have a meeting there.
Yeah, where's the invite?
Yeah, I like that idea. Can we get, Travis, can we get something, taxpayer money to send the board to France?
Yeah, no kidding. Travis, that sounds like a great idea.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Jan.
Thanks, Jan.
See you next year.
All right.